Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Member for Castries East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to place on the record the fact that we were called to this meeting with only 4 days' notice, and the volume of stuff on the order paper, including borrowing of nearly $45 million, necessitated the fact that we needed some time to discuss and talk about it. But notwithstanding the fact that we were not offered the normal time, which is usually 7 days, to be able to have a look at the order paper, we thought it's important that we be here this morning to debate what is not really a simple matter. Madam Speaker, you may recall in the meeting of Parliament of the 27th of June, on the order paper was a resolution by the Minister of Finance, and the resolution read as follows: be it resolved that Parliament authorizes the Minister of Finance. I can make a document of the House.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition, there is no need to if this document was reported.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Be it resolved that Parliament authorizes the Minister for Finance to raise a sum of $103 million for financing of the 2017-2018 budget, and a sum of $262 million for refinancing the existing debts on the regional government security market or through private placements at a maximum rate of 7.5%. At that time, Madam Speaker, in my contribution, I made the point that that could not be enough money to conduct the finances of the country. And as usual, I was attacked by the Prime Minister and his surrogates in and out of the House, because I said that was not enough. All the Prime Minister had to say is, if you want some more, we'll come back by resolution. But no, there was the usual, Madam Speaker, attack. You want to mess with the economy. You did this, you did that. Well, Madam Speaker, I just want to read for you from the Economic and Social Review, page 50, financing, and it reads: financing pressure eased in 2016-2017 as investors' appetite for government debt instruments showed signs of improvement. This resulted in government raising $139.9 million in bond financing, $43.2 million above the approved amounts. That was in 2016. Well, Madam Speaker, you hear it's because the government changed. Confidence has returned and the bonds are selling because of confidence, Madam Speaker. But this is a social and economic review. I want to go further, Madam Speaker, and read from page 56, monetary and financial sector. The 2016 monetary accounts of St. Lucia present a mixed picture, with the stock of outstanding domestic credit falling for the third consecutive year, while both monetary liabilities and net foreign assets continue to increase relative to balances in 2015. The growth in net foreign assets were particularly large, growing by 67.5%, $181.1 million to $449.5 million. The growth, both in magnitude and direction, reflects a continuation of development in 2015, where in that year, net foreign assets moved from a liability position of $305.2 million to an asset position of $268.4 million. The reversal in 2015 marked the first asset position since 2007 data for 2016 show that the positive growth, which is underpinned by commercial bank activity, has continued from the trend established in 2015. So, Madam Speaker, that was prepared when we were out of government. So when you hear that the Labour Party left the economy in a mess, as soon as we return, confidence is back, business is flourishing, bonds are selling because the United Workers' Party is in power. That's really, Madam Speaker. It does not, the facts do not say that. But having said so, we always made the point that the economy of St. Lucia it has some issues, that the economy needs restructuring, that the debt profile is too high. We always made that point. That was never a point we hid. We always made that point. But, Madam Speaker, at the time, and I've said in this House, that you cannot talk economics away. Economics is based on figures. Figures. You can't talk it away. And at some point, all the talk and the bravado will come down to basic figures. Dollars and cents figures. And, Madam Speaker, history will prove me right. When the Prime Minister read his budget, I made the point also that the budget was reckless. It was reckless because the recurrent deficit was increasing by 109% to 7.6% from the previous position of 3.4%. And that was not the correct trajectory. I also said that the primary deficit was coming from a surplus of 50.7% to a negative of $102 million, Madam Speaker. I also said that the overall deficit was increasing to 4.7% from a position of 1.4% in the previous year. And that was not the correct trajectory for the economy. But as usual, Madam Speaker, instead of the government this understanding that something structurally is wrong and let us find a way to solve it, they attack economic terrorists, all sorts of things, Madam Speaker, because I have stated facts, not words, fact, Madam Speaker. So we are here this morning to borrow, in effect, $40 million from local banks. And you may recall that I said that the $103 million for financing the budget could not be enough. All the Prime Minister had to say was, let us start with that and we'll come by resolution if you need some more. No, he attacked. Let me give you, Madam Speaker, the facts as it relates to borrowing from by this government since it got into power. On the 27th of June, they borrowed $11.2 million US dollars or 40 million EC dollars for the Dennery water supply. On that same day, they borrowed 15 million US dollars for the tourism competitiveness project. They borrowed, today, we're going to borrow 1.62 million for the DVRP. And last time we were here, we borrowed 2.8 million US for the youth empowerment project. In total, this government has borrowed $86.6 million EC, and today we are borrowing 40 million EC, equivalent to $122.6 million. But you may recall that in the resolution, Madam Speaker, what the resolution spoke to is $103 million for financing the 2017-2018 budget. But to date, we have borrowed $122.6 million. Is the Prime Minister breaking the law? Is the Prime Minister breaking the law, Madam Speaker? What is happening is the confidence which the budget needs to give the public. $103 million for financing the 2017-2018 budget. That is what the motion says on the 27th of June. And to date, the fact is we have borrowed $122.6 million. Whether the borrowing is justified, Of course, you need to borrow for the January water supply. You need to borrow for toll. Of course you need to. But Madam Speaker, my point of departure is the attacking and the trying to talk, trying to influence people when the facts are clear. Fact is, Madam Speaker, we have borrowed $122 million. Whether it's necessary, it may be, but we borrowed it. So when I made that point, Madam Speaker, and I was attacked and ridiculed, tried to be ridiculed by people who think they know better. Surrogates in and side of this house, Madam Speaker. The facts speak to themselves, for themselves, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, I'm going to go a little further into the very heart of this government. How the government doesn't stick to reality. And I heard the Prime Minister this morning. He delved into some sort of reality. The reality of the situation that we face in this country. Not the talk and the attacking and the vindictiveness and the make them cry and the CDP project not going to members of the opposition, Madam Speaker. The government, the members on this side, we have not been told how 1 cent of the Taiwanese CDP projects will be spent in our constituencies. But these things are happening in my constituency, Madam Speaker. In all of our constituencies, CDP projects have happened and they will happen, Madam Speaker, because the government's official policy is to make them cry. That's the official policy, make them cry. So what they do is that these projects will continue in our constituencies and hoping that they will get political advantage. So, Madam Speaker, we get back to the Prime Minister's budget speech. Of the budget speech, and that already is a document of the House. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister speaks to financing of the budget, and he says, and I quote, page 44, other loans totaling 84.8 million, comprising 43.1 million from the Caribbean Development Bank, 24.9 million from the World Bank, 13.6 million from the Republic of China, Taiwan, 1 million from the National Insurance Corporation, and 2.2 million from the Creative Fund for Arab Economic Development. 84.4 million, Madam Speaker, making a total of $342 million. That's how the budget will be financed. And after that, Madam Speaker, 362 million would be for capital. But, Madam Speaker, nowhere in this document, and I'm not calling into any question the ability of the local banks, but nowhere in this document was ever any conversation of borrowing from the local banks. I just want to make that point, Madam Speaker. I just want to make that point. Nowhere in this budget that it was ever said that loans will have come from the local banks. And we can pursue it and you can find out, Madam Speaker. But that is how the Prime Minister said that he would finance his budget, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, I want to ask the Prime Minister a few questions. The United Labour Party has been in government from June last year. I want to find out, Madam Speaker, what is the real state of the economy? Not statements about confidence, facts, figures. I want to find out what is the recurrent deficit. I want to find out, Madam Speaker, what are the growth projections? What has been the growth profile for this year? Figures, not gut feeling, not what you think. What has been the growth trajectory for this country for the last 6 months? The budget was in April. We have another budget coming up in April, Madam Speaker. I want to find, Madam Speaker, what are the revenue projections? How much money have we collected from VAT? What has been the impact of the reduction in VAT on the revenue of the country? What has been the impact of the reduction of VAT on the cash flow of the country? Figures, not bland statements of hope, or bland statements for the press, Figures, Madam Speaker. What has been the impact of the reduction of VAT? I want to find, Madam Speaker, how much money has the fuel tax collected? And where is the lockbox account? In which lock and in which box? Where is the lockbox account for the fuel that the government increased by 60%, the tax on fuel, and they made a big story for it, I said so, a big story, 60%, Madam Speaker, and they said it would go in a lockbox. In fact, government ministers all over the world saying, we'll borrow because we have a lockbox. All the money for fuel will go in the lockbox, and we'll fix all the roads in the country. All. How much is in the lockbox? How much money is in that lockbox account since you changed the excise tax for fuel? How much is in the lockbox account? I want to find out, Madam Speaker, that you have CIP projections of revenue of $43 million. But a document in this House on the CIP report says that up to March 2017, only $5 million of revenue had been collected from the CIP. Up to March 2017 for the year. But in your revenue projections, and again, Madam Speaker, that can be a document in the House, is the estimates of expenditure. You will see, Madam Speaker, that the estimates of expenditure say, in financing the budget, on page 509, CIP revenue, $43 million. I don't need to make a document in the House because we already documented the House, $43 million. But up to March, you've collected $5 million. What are the CIP projections for revenue? How are you financing the government expenditure if all these revenue sources have gone down? You promise to increase the fuel tax by $150, $1.50, but you put a cap on fuel. So your revenue projections must be less. How will that impact the overall revenue of the country? I'm not asking for a tax. I'm asking for fact figures. How will, if you project $43 million in CIP revenue, you've only collected $4 million up to March. The year we are in October, you have a few more months. How much revenue do you project to come from the CIP, and how will that impact on the financing of your country, Madam Speaker? I want to ask, how much is in the sinking fund? The Prime Minister is very fond of attacking me on the sinking fund. I still have my position on the sinking fund. How much money do you have in the sinking fund? How much have you put aside in the sinking fund to do all the noble things you spoke about? Facts, not fake news, not attacks. Facts, figures. How many dollars? 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. How much money do you have in the sinking fund, Madam Speaker? I want to find out, what are the growth projections for the economy? What growth are you predicting? 2%, 3%, 4%? We said that we wanted the United States Party manifesto said we're projecting growth of 15% for the next 3 years. How you set these targets? How have you reached there? What are the growth figures? Figures, facts, percentages. You can find that out, Madam Speaker. I want to find out, Madam Speaker, what are the government's economic policies that will create the growth? Ojo Labs? The only investment that this government has worked on fervently is Ojo Labs. And you know the cost of Ojo Labs, $4 million to refit the building and paying the salaries. All the other government investments, they have not come to bear. It's just talk. But I know what you stopped. I know you stopped a building in Vieux-Fort. I know you stopped the highway in Grosley. I know you stopped that. I know you stopped the PUP on the airport. And the airport is a big story. The airport. That airport is something, boy. When the story starts on the airport, it's going to be a big story. The airport. I know you stopped it. I know you stopped the IFC from doing a PUP for the airport. And when the debate comes on the airpot, I'll make the point, Madam Speaker, on why you stopped it. But the point I'm making, what the government's projections are talk. You lend range passport money at 2% and you say they'll build a hotel. Not one block on the ground here, not one block. I hope it comes. I really hope it comes, you know. But I heard somebody on the radio the other day saying the opposition is happy when there is crime. I mean, you think somebody can say that? You think a young person can go in public and say the opposition is happy when there is crime? Why would an opposition be happy when there is crime? This is our country. We intend to run it at some point. Why would it be happy when there is crime? Why? But, Madam Speaker, when you're in opposition, your words are used to haunt you. You will recall very well who said St. Lucia will be made safe. We all know who said it. But that's not our position. Why would I want St. Lucia of crime? Why? Why won't I want a hotel to be built in St. Lucia? Because, Madam Speaker, and that must go to what the government is doing. When you victimize people, when you stop people from getting work because you perceive them to be supporters of the Labour Party, you know what you're doing? You're not only victimizing the person themselves, you know, because they employ people, and the people they employ may be UDAP supporters. In one house, you have UDAP supporter, Labour Party supporter. In one house, you have different people. So when you victimize somebody, when you say over your dead body, these people that work in the country, when you say that, you know what you're doing? You're not only affecting the person, you're affecting the people that will be employed. So when you starve Cassius East of CDP projects, and you starve it, and you believe that Philip J. Pierre will lose his seat, a dream. When you start doing these things, what you do is you affect other people in the constituency, not me, other people who may be your supporters. So this victimization, this vindictive kick of the government, they must stop. Settle down, settle. So, Madam Speaker, what are the projects that the government that this government can boast of? One, Ojo Labs at a great cost, and two, the digital opening tomorrow. Two projects. All the rest, talk. What was there, you stopped. You can imagine how your government would have benefited if you didn't allow that pettiness, that vindictive streak. That streak made them cry. You didn't allow that streak in your government. You can imagine where you'd be today. You stopped all the projects. You stopped everything that would cause St. Lucia to move. You stopped it. And now, right now, Madam Speaker, you have to pay for it. You're paying for it. You know how you pay for it? You pay for it by being able to just dream of projects that will come on stream. They will. You pay for it by having to give generous tax concessions. You pay for it by having to sometimes pay people's salaries. You pay the salaries for Ojo Labs. That's how you pay for it to create employment. Because you stopped projects that could have moved the country forward. And you would benefit. But you stopped it. Vindictiveness, make them cry. That's the price you pay for that kind of thing, Madam Speaker. And time. I said here in this honorable house, there's one thing the government can't stop, is time. We are in October, we are in November 2017, time. One thing you can't stop. So when you go along with that vindictive streak, that streak of make them cry, you pay for it. And you see, nothing's happening. There was a survey in the country. Go to the streets and ask a man in the streets, how is the economy doing? You know what I tell you? Boss man, nothing are running. Nothing are running, boss man. Nothing are running. That's what they'll tell you. Because it's all in your mind. All in your mind, you think things are running. Because you believe that when the time comes, you'll know what you have to do. But, Madam Speaker, I want to get back to the point, Madam Speaker, that this government, and in that borrowing profile, nothing about fresh start yet, and $15 million. In this other paper, there was, in an other paper, in this house, the period other paper, $15 million by DFC for fresh start. That is not yet in the debt profile. It's not there yet. You have to come back there. So that's 122 plus 15. That's 137. I'm just asking a question. Are you going to pay Fresh Start from the $40 million that is borrowing today? Are you going to pay Fresh Start for the roads in Miku from the $40 million that you are borrowing today? Because the DFC, the motion that you had for Fresh Start, it has just disappeared from the other paper. Where are you going to pay Fresh Start from? You need the roads, Mr. Prime Minister. Of course you need the roads. But you had a motion of $15 million there from Fresh Start, it's disappeared. I'd like to find out, how are you going to pay Fresh Start? I know some time ago, a member of the cabinet said, Fresh Start is so nice that they all started working for us and you are paying nothing yet. Such a great company. They did all the roads in Forest and you haven't paid them. Fresh Start, yes. Have you paid them? Is the money you're borrowing today to pay Fresh Start for the Forester roads? The Forester housing scheme. Housing scheme, yeah. You remember you said that one of your surrogates said that Fresh Start is such a great company that they did all the work at Forester, the Forester house, and you haven't paid them 1 cent. And anybody who could have done the work cheaper, come to him and he would employ them. Mr. Prime Minister, that's the kind of government you preside over, you know. A minister going in public saying to people, come to me and I'll employ you for a contract with ministers. The whole tender thing has gone out of the window. Mr. Prime Minister, that's public knowledge, you know. That's what the minister said in public. If you can find somebody who can do the job cheaper, come to me. That's him. But Mr. Prime Minister, you must call a halt to that. You must call a halt to that. You must call a halt to that. So I want to find out, how are we paying Fresh Start? Is the $15 million coming back? Have you paid for the road works in Forestier? Have you paid for it? The housing in Forestier, the housing in the road works in the housing scheme in Forestier, have you paid for it? How are you paying that? Where is that in the debt profile? Further, the airport, and man, we're speaking of borrowing. The government hasn't said that's not true. But in terms of revenue, we're going to be coming for airport development tax, but that's for another show. I know that the cost of the airport is about $150 million US. So you're going to include that on the debt profile again. Questions? I'll wait for the answer. I'll wait for the answer. So, Madam Speaker, reality has hit this government. This government must come to grips with the real situation and stop believing they can talk and they can victimize the problems of the country away. They cannot. I have made this point here many times. The opposition will never go away. We will never go away. Never. When I leave, somebody else will come. This Labour Party is the oldest party in St. Lucia. We will never die. So it's no use you believe that you can run us away, or you can victimize us away, or you can be vindictive and get. You can't. So what you have to do is you have to look at the problems in this country. Look at it in a way that will put you in a favorable way in the history of St. Lucia. Don't look at it in the eyes of people who are only interested in making people cry. Don't put it in the eyes of people who every time they open their mouth is victimize them. Get Kenny, get Pierre. Don't look at it that way. Look at it in a way that will benefit the children of St. Lucia. Do not look at it in a way where you will increase the burden on the children of St. Lucia because you want to get at Kenny. Don't look at it that way. Leave Kenny alone. Kenny's gone. Look at the country. He's gone. He's not Prime Minister again. Not Minister of Finance. Look at the country. You see, it's them tricks you're trying. Them things that will work. You've been trying these things all your life. You see, you've been trying these things all your life. These things are working. This party is more united than it ever was before. Don't try them tricks. That's not working. That's not working. And let me advise you. I won my nomination by more votes than you. There were 70 against you, there was only 16 against me. So I won better than you. I won better, I did better than you. So don't try that, you understand? Yeah, but I did better than you. I did better than you. Inside there are at least 2 people who won against you. Yeah, and they won. So don't try this thing, don't try that. There are at least 2 people that will run against you. And in that running, one of them had the worst thing to say about you. One of them had the worst thing about you in that running process. So don't try that. You see, when you're going down that track, you're going to get lost. That's not your business. And especially the fact you had fellas around, you know what. So don't try that. So Madam Speaker, he was a campaign manager. So, Madam Speaker, 5 times in 5. So, Madam Speaker, this government is leading the country down a dangerous track. This government is not facing reality. This government is living in a world of dreams, a world of make-believe. This government is living hoping and praying that somebody will come from somewhere with a magic wand and create employment, 5,000 people, hoping that some big investor will just land. That will not happen. This government has to bring the confidence, has to tell the people of St. Lucia in the confidence. This government has to look at different models to develop this country. The idea of tax and spend, the idea of giving the country away with incentives, hoping that something will happen. The idea of jobs at all costs, Madam Speaker. This government must rethink its position. This government must look towards small and medium-sized enterprises. This government must look to the resilience of the people of St. Lucia. Do not be as a whole. Because if you do not do that, you have to come back here again and again. Why you can borrow? The reason why you can borrow is simply because, Madam Speaker, and I want to refer to a document, to the Social and Economic Review. Public debt. You see, they hide all these things. They give the impression that since they came to power, everything is good. Debt has reduced. Confidence has returned. Public debt, page 51. At the end of 2016, 6 months into the rule, 6 months, the official stock of public debt, which includes central government liabilities, government guaranteed and public non-guaranteed debt, grew by 2.6% to 2.9 million. This represents a slowdown in the rate of debt accumulation, which in the last decade has grown at an average of 6.8%. Consequently, the debt to GDP ratio increased to 66.4% in 2016 from 65.4% in 2015. So if they continue on this trajectory, Madam Speaker, because you must understand, they have to come back here and borrow 15 million for fresh start. They have to borrow 150 million for the airport. The Prime Minister said today he has to borrow 150 million to fix roads. The Prime Minister hasn't told us, so that's 300 million, that's 15 million. He has to borrow 350 million. That will take the debt profile back up to the 90s where it's not supposed to be. So, Madam Speaker, I urge this government to let good sense prevail. I urge this government to understand that this country doesn't belong to them. It doesn't belong to UWPs. It doesn't belong to their party people. It belongs to the people of St. Lucia. And stop the pettiness. Stop the vindictiveness. Stop it. Because it makes, you may believe that because today you are in power, you can make people cry and make people suffer. But power is elusive. It comes and it goes. It's very elusive. It comes and it goes. So this debt issue or this borrowing is something that we must watch. We must watch it closely. Because if you continue, Madam Speaker, very shortly, based on what I said before, I said that $102 million was not enough. We have reached $122 million in October. The Prime Minister spoke about $300,000 more, $300 million more. If we continue on that trajectory, this country is going on a very, very fast track down to the International Monetary Fund. I thank you, Madam Speaker.